This is Moments with Mary, and my guest today is Jeff Fowler, the station manager and the executive producer of BTV Access Corporation. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's an honor to be here.
Yeah. Well, thanks for
this is
coming.
one of the up-and-coming shows I hear, so...
Yeah. This is the first podcast that you guys used in this here?
It is, yeah.
I'm surprised younger kids, and it's not me, the older generation's actually doing podcasts.
You know, it's funny, when BTV first started, it was kind of before all the YouTube and social medias and cell phones, so the only way to really do this was to come to a place like this, but now they have so many options at home. But we get a decent amount.
This is much better because you feel like a Joe Rogan kind of thing. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
You feel like, hey.
It's a very
So you live in
room.
Brockton, and you went to Bridgewater. It was State College at the time.
It was.
So what drew you to the college?
So I was actually a meteorology major when I was graduated Brockton, went up to Linden State in Vermont. And that same year, almost exactly to the month, the Weather Service started going through a bunch of layoffs. And a professor up there had befriended me and said, you know, I think you really should convert over to a communication major. And it was a great suggestion, but I wasn't really going to pay the amount of money I was paying Vermont to be a communication major. Now, while I was at Brockton High, Bridgewater State had a very strong connection with Brockton High School, and they weren't.
In what way?
They had a kind of a partnership with the city, so they had a lot of students that they would do. I guess it was kind of dual enrollment. We didn't call it back then 30 years ago, but it was something similar, and so we had a partnership. And I remember very well. I wasn't being recruited at the time because they didn't offer meteorology at Bridgewater, but a friend of mine was a freshman at the university, and so word got out that I was interested in. Nancy Street at the time was the chair of the communication department, and she was chatting with me. I think we were on AOL or something back then, instant whatever. And she said, Jeff, it was right around Thanksgiving. She said, go back after Thanksgiving, don't take your finals, withdraw before the end of the semester, and come down to Bridgewater State as an incoming freshman. And she said, you know, just play stupid, just come in like you'd never been to college before, go through all the steps. So I did. And I'm probably giving away some cheat codes here, but it was the best move I ever made. I came in, came back here, got a full-time job at Sears, started banking money. Back then, Bridgewater State it's still reasonable, but I mean, you could write a check at the beginning of the semester. I think it was a couple $1,000s for the semester or something like that, and working full-time. And so anyway, that's how I got involved there. And while I was at Bridgewater State, Jim Moore was the station manager here, communication professor over there. He's on our board of directors now. But he would put crew calls on the easels, and one of the crew calls was a Bridgewater town meeting. So I showed up and was on the town meeting crew, and then I came back for a second town meeting. Everybody was like, "Oh, he's actually coming back. We should get him involved more."
Oh, good.
And so there was an opening here. Our news producer, I'm probably jumping ahead a little bit, but our news producer at the time, her husband worked for the Atlanta Braves and got a job promotion, so they kind of had to leave next day type deal.
Yeah.
So they offered me the position of news producer and took that, and then gradually moved up the ladder.
So who controls BTV?
So BTV is funded by the subscribers of Comcast who subscribe to the television package. So if you have TV, cable TV, 5% of your bill, there's a little fee on the bill.
From Comcast?
From Comcast, but it's from the subscriber.
Okay.
So it's kind of a direct pass through. So the subscriber pays for it. The billing is for the subscribers themselves. So I work for a board of directors that are all volunteers, residents of the town.
All the board of members of the town?
Yep,
So
all members.
Who picked them? How did you get that
So
started?
they were originally appointed by the Bridgewater Selectmen.
Okay.
And then they were given, much like the council, they have rotating terms. So there's an annual meeting every spring that the subscribers are invited to, and they can vote to reelect the members, or new members can, throw their
So
name
you
in the hat.
report to the board?
Yes.
Okay. And you guys make goals and stuff. Do you meet with them more than once a year?
Oh, yeah. So we have monthly meetings, but most of our board members are also volunteers on our crew.
Okay.
So they'll be involved in the the church productions, the meetings, the sports. So it's nice because the board members will kind of see what equipment's working, what equipment could be better.
Yeah.
They're on the front lines with everybody else, so it does make the process much easier. Versus some towns, the board members are kind of just politically appointed, or they may be just assigned. They may not be familiar with TV, so they may not be making the best decisions. But Bridgewater's been very fortunate for over 30 years to.
Well, that's good because the board will make like the policies, procedures, and stuff.
Exactly.
So you're also the maintenance of this building.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get funding from that for Comcast?
So we get the funding we get from Comcast. Basically, Comcast will fund you for equipment, for the building, and for volunteer training. The only thing, so all of the funding is determined by the FCC. It's actually part of the Telecommunications Act, which is 40 years old now. But the one thing it never really addressed was payroll. So that's always kind of communities try to be creative as much as they can. But essentially, most of the staff, I'd say over 90% of the productions are all done by volunteers. And so that money can be used for equipment for the volunteers, can be used for the building. So the way the board would justify it is that, well, the building needs to be heated, right? It needs to be cooled.
Yeah.
Volunteers need to be comfortable. They want to have a nice building for it. So that's kind of how that money is used.
So tell me about your mobile studio.
So we have our production truck, which that truck actually, it still looks brand new.
It does.
But it's actually a little over 15 years old.
Wow.
And so we're in the process of upgrading it. So in the next year or so, you'll see a new mobile studio. That'll be nice. But that is the point of that truck was to be a mobile classroom.
Yeah.
So we had a small production van that we had for many years, and it did the job, and it was fine. But it was very tight. The space was tight. And so some of the community members would be hesitant getting in there, and they don't want to be thrown right into the fire. The nice part, what we do with our production trucks is that if we go to the high school or the university or any of these locations, students can be part of the crew. The seniors can be part of the crew. They can come in, they can buddy up, they can kind of see what's going on. And as they get more comfortable, they can get more involved.
Yeah.
So it really is more of a mobile classroom that we use to broadcast. But it's, we're one of very few, if we might be the only access station that is involved in NCAA programming. So the March Madness tournaments, for example.
You went on the road to the
Yep,
basketball.
we take that truck to
Is
all over.
that's college?
That's college, yep. So that's
Okay.
Division II,
All right.
NCAA national tournament. But we've also done College World Series with
Okay.
that truck. We've done, because that is occasionally hosted on the Cape.
That sounds like fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun, and it's a great teaching experience. There aren't many opportunities for students. Of course, whenever you apply for a job, the first thing they ask you, well, how much experience do you have? And so that's always tough for students. The nice thing going through here is that they're getting real world experience.
I was going to talk about your internships because you really have a list that they can do.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But we'll continue on.
Mm-hmm.
That I was going to ask you about the weather, but now I know that,
Yeah.
I took a class in weather
Mm-hmm.
in college, and I found
Yeah.
it really
Yeah.
great. I'd like to go over some of the programs that you have.
Sure.
You have Bridgewater Now.
Yeah.
So what is that about?
So Bridgewater Now is kind of almost like a social media condensed version of what was Bridgewater This Week. So Bridgewater This Week was our flagship program back in the day, and it was a 30-minute news program. We had a lot of volunteers in the town they came in. They would do, some of them wanted to do makeup and set design. They would do script writing. They would do the reporting. And a lot of folks who became major players in the town actually started there. So, for example, Chief Del Monte was a news reporter.
So would he talk about what's going on in the police?
No, police, but he would talk about everything in town. So
Okay.
they
So it was
would
like a newspaper.
exactly. A team would write a script, and he would be one of the
Oh,
anchors.
really?
And Liz Mora, who directs the Rainham
Yeah.
Elder Affairs, she was a news producer here for quite a while. John Luck was a news producer. I was a news producer. So it was a great program. We realized as the years went on that consumers started to get their information differently,
Oh, yeah.
rather than wait for a 30-minute news, 6 o'clock news. Now they want to get it on their phone. So we started condensing it and doing more news segments, packages that we could share on social media, that we could put on YouTube, that folks could get on their phone. So that's kind of what Bridgewater Now became, and then it got even more condensed from there. Because really, people just want to see what
So it's community
what was the
events?
headline. It is.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you have, so is Bridgewater Now like the community programming, or is community program you actually go videotape?
It's so Bridgewater Now is one of the shows, but we have many different community programs. So we have our longest running programming actually is religious. So Central Square Congregational Church has been recorded for 30 years, and so that's our longest. But we have 5 churches that are wired in town. We also have a media club room/studio at the high school. We have
What do you use that for?
So we just kind of started getting that off the ground, but that's going to be that the students would like to do a little news program for the high school,
I like
just to
that,
kind of update what's going on, highlight some of the organizations there, and then give almost like a morning news that they'll be able to do.
I think the residents will like that because
I
they'll
think they
always
will,
ask,
too.
like, when I learned about bridging lives, they're like,
Yes.
what is that?
Yeah.
But you don't hear about it.
Right.
So I think that's really great.
Right. And that'll, that's programming that will air on BTV as well.
Yeah.
So residents will know when the Christmas concert is, or,
Yeah.
that
And how to get tickets.
how
and
to get
stuff.
tickets, or if the students are doing a fundraiser or a
And
walk.
they'll cover
or,
the sports.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Because a
so-
lot of, no one knew that you have to go online to get high school football tickets. Unless you
right.
live here.
It's weird. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The MIA has made a lot of changes over the years. And some of them have been good. Some of them have been kind of tough on folks.
That's tough because I really wanted to go to a few, and it's like you have to know what to do. And
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, and a lot of sports are in that.
yeah,
the
too bad
Rocks
they
are
couldn't
the
do some
same
like
way.
on the at the gate.
Right.
Sell some at the gate.
Right.
Or you can
right.
sell online.
Yeah. I'm not in favor of everything being online, but yeah, we've covered a lot of BR games. We have had a strong partnership with the university. They're kind of reinventing some of the things they're doing over there, so we'll see where that goes. But
BSU.
but you'll see us at BR.
Well, BR, you
regular
covered
basis.
all the school committee meetings.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of the sport games
Mhm.
I've seen.
Oh yeah.
And plus, now here you cover the town council, the committees, the commissions, the candidates. You do a lot for the local politicians.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of volunteers that have interest in government, which is nice, and it's always better to have as many as we can. That's one of the trade-offs to Zoom, is that it brought accessibility to a lot of the subcommittee meetings that weren't necessarily being recorded before, but now because they're on Zoom, they can easily post them to YouTube. They can easily get them on the channels here.
And then you post them on BTV.
Exactly,
You guys have
exactly.
3 channels.
We have 3. That's being redesigned a little bit. So last year, Comcast approved high definition for Bridgewater,
And that's 1073.
and that's 1073. That became a mirror of Channel 9 at the time, but then they changed us back to Channel 8, so it got a little confusing. So the best way to explain it now is that if you're watching us on standard definition, you'd watch us on Channel 8. High definition would be 1073, and then all the government programming is on 22, just to make that easier for everybody.
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and so because what would happen is they were only going to have one of the channels be HD, and so if we had the education channel, if we're doing stuff at the high school, they were going to want to see it in high definition anyway.
Yeah.
So it just made more sense to.
It makes a big difference when you flip back and
Oh
forth.
yeah, big
It's
time.
a huge
big time.
difference.
And it feels a lot better for us. If you can imagine, for years we've always been recording in HD, but it wasn't airing in HD. So here you have this, $1 million production truck that you're bringing to the high school, and all these fancy cameras and equipment, and then Comcast is airing it in standard definition. It was kind of a bit of a letdown, but
No,
now-
I've
now it's
noticed a lot of their channels now are high definition.
getting much better.
So I like. I don't know if this one's a new one on the Sidelines with John Luck. I like that, and you learn a lot about the sports.
Yeah, so John's a very talented producer here, and
He
so
knows a lot about sports.
he certainly does. And when he was the news producer at the time, I always knew sports was really his thing.
Yeah.
And news kind of after 2020, the whole news industry really got kind of a bit of a negative stigma to it, and we found that there were less students that were interested in getting into news at that point because of everything that was going on. But everybody was into sports, and everybody's into the community. So we really kind of shifted our efforts to cover more of the sports, the parades, the concerts, kind of really focus on a lot of the good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, people can find plenty of avenues to argue about politics and the negative stuff and all that. There's plenty of channels for that. But,
no, I like that because it gives you everything that's going on. It makes it simple. You don't have to drag through the news channels and stuff. So the Callahan Connection, has that been on for a long time?
So Bill Callahan was a volunteer with us back in the early 90s and was with us for a long time. And then life got busy and such. But anyway, a couple of years ago, we reconnected and, he was really interested. And so I suggested, because he does a lot with real estate, a lot with community development. And I know that was something that Bridgewater was into.
Yeah.
And so I said, gee, would you consider coming back? So it's been really nice having him on board.
That's recorded in a whole different part of this building.
It is. That's in our main studio.
So they sit there on the couch and they can talk. I like that because he brings in a lot of different people and they talk about it so you can get a good understanding.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of our goal is always try to introduce as many folks as possible, try to connect as many folks to the community as possible, and then, build. I'm a big supporter also of supporting local businesses. They don't have as many opportunities running commercials, for example, unless they want to invest a lot of money at the network level. And then, somebody in Pittsfield might be watching an ad for a business in Bridgewater who's never going to come here, but they're still paying for that. The nice thing here is that, they have people in Bridgewater and so they can connect right here. And so that's been our goal.
They had a guy, I can't remember his name, and he talked about the Title V. He was someone else at construction. He flipped over.
Yep.
And you learn a lot because now you know that he has a background, people, so you know that you could hire someone like that.
Yeah.
And that's important.
You can do the research and you're not being forced by a salesman or anything like that. Mm-hmm.
So that's helpful. I like In Focus with Matt Davis.
So
what is he most? The last one I watched, he was doing an author.
Yeah. So Jabbar Al-Abadi is the producer of In Focus. Jabbar has quite a history. So he was a professor in the United Arab Emirates, and he actually worked technically because over there, when you worked in the education system, he also worked in Iraq. You worked for Saddam.
Oh,
because that's technically how it was. Even though they weren't fans of Saddam, they worked for him. So he had quite a bit of a background there. But Jabbar came to Bridgewater the same year that I started as a freshman at Bridgewater State, so we both started at the same time.
Wow.
So we kind of struck a friendship there, and Jabbar got involved with BTV. So he's been involved here almost 30 years as well.
But it's still called In Focus with Mac Davis?
No, Mac was one of his guests.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The author of the book.
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah. Jabbar does a lot of different topics. So he'll do some current events. He'll do authors, depending on the nice thing is that Jabbar has a lot of access to different parts of the world. So we've had shows. I can remember when there was some conflicts in the Middle East, we actually had reporters with Jabbar on the front lines, Skyping in. You could see, the conflict going on behind them. You could see missiles like dropping. This is stuff that CNN was not getting, but we had access to it.
I know. I'm going to have to check into it deeper because I don't think I've ever noticed that one.
Yeah, that was several years ago. Yeah.
But I've been checking into all the different things because I watch the channel a lot more.
Yeah,
it's very
there's a lot there. BTV,
there really is.
We've been very blessed for a long time over the years. We've had a lot of talented volunteers that have gone through here. And Bridgewater has a lot of talented residents that'll go through here. But I can remember years where we'd have town meetings and folks would actually cite what they saw on BTV as their reference for what they were voting on and stuff like that. And I always tell folks, this is the last true transparent option that you have, because nobody owns this station. There are no lobbyists, there are no opinions behind the scenes. I am the manager, but my opinion's irrelevant. It doesn't really matter. All we do is we help others express their views, and you can choose to watch their show or scroll on to something else, but there's really no controlling here. And unfortunately, there aren't many newspapers left, so that media is kind of gone. So this is pretty much it.
Yeah, I didn't realize it until I started, doing this. I started really, because I'd see you on TV, but then I started really digging into it. And I'm thinking, I want to do a podcast with Jeff because there's just so much information on there to get it out because I didn't even realize it.
And the nice thing is that, it answers a lot of questions. And when people are assuming or, maybe they don't have the information exact, all that stuff gets circulated around. This way people can actually listen from the source. This is the information. This is what's there. And I think it does help a lot.
Well, you have an on-demand thing, so I can look up the older ones,
do.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that's very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So volunteer and internships. I was just surprised to see some of the internships that you want, like production assistant internship. They're not just, fill a thing. They're learning.
Correct. Yeah.
I was really impressed.
Yeah.
You got the sports production assistant, the marketing and public relations. So is this all college kids or some high school kids?
It can be college, high school. It can just be, folks in the town who are interested too. It's really open to everybody. The nice thing is that a lot of your folks at the next level, they understand that community access provides a lot of access to students. So they'll ask students when they're applying for jobs if they've gone through the community access level.
Yeah.
And if they haven't, they'll say, well, you should probably go back there before you apply here.
Yeah.
So I always suggest to students who are interested in college especially, they should be over here by their sophomore year.
You guys should go to the high school. You know what I mean? Set it up and tell them all the things that you do.
Yeah, so we're definitely getting better at that.
Yeah.
I agree. I think with the media club, that's definitely helping.
Do they do career day or are they exposed to different, to help them gear them, like what kind of engineering and stuff?
Yeah, they are. And the nice thing with our industry is that our industry involves a lot of crossovers.
Yeah.
So, we have engineers, we have publicists, we have writers, we have PR, we have all these different graphic design.
Yeah.
I had a student from the high school who was involved in TJ Squared and did a lot of graphic and engineering and came over here and got involved. I can give you a quick story. We had a student who, it was during the last override crisis around 2008, right around there, was a student at the high school, and they were dismissing early every day. And so he would come directly here, and his dream job was to work for Lester Holt. He wanted to be down in New York. And anyway, he graduated BR. He applied to go to Emerson. He was denied his high school. They said, we can't look at your high school transcript because they're on academic probation. However, they looked a little deeper and said, you have 2 full years at BTV. We'll take you on as a probationary student.
Nice.
And by the time he was a sophomore into his early junior years, he was running Emerson TV.
Wow.
Got a job out in Los Angeles and waited. They tried to get him back here to start NBC Boston when they got their affiliate. He turned it down. He waited, finally got the call from 30 Rock, except he wasn't working for Lester Holt. Yeah. Lester Holt was working for him.
Oh, wow.
He was his boss.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so it was a pretty cool story. There's a Bridgewater kid who just went through BTV, but we have tons that have gone through here.
That would be good to, have some of them come back and talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That would be really interesting to encourage the high school kids that you can make it, with enough work and drive.
Yeah, I think we've had, I want to say that I know specifically, at least a half dozen from BR that are working in network television now. That,
because the opportunities you guys give them is incredible. Yeah. It's not like some, you're just doing an internship and it has no meaning.
And it's a win-win. It's funny. We'll be there on Thanksgiving morning, and I'll have people ask me, well, how much are these folks being paid? And I say, they're not. And they don't get that part. And they're like, so they can just do this? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And they realize the experience they get. And it's.
Well, even you guys, like you do the town council, we don't pay you for that.
Right.
So a lot of the things that you do for the town, you're not being paid.
Right. But it's a win-win. I mean, it's, for us, John and I are very fortunate that we were able to add Al to the team too, who's super talented and super motivated. And, that's what you need in community television.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's much like what you do with the council. You're not in this business for money. That there has to be some kind of a drive, and it's, you want to be involved in your community. we work a lot with the Lions clubs. We work a lot with a lot of the nonprofits that all their members have the same drive.
Yeah.
We used to do an auction every year for Mass Ioneer research, and we would have a ball. We'd have probably 50 volunteers that would be involved in the productions. And for some of these folks, this was their annual tradition. They'd get together once a year and meet, be with old friends. And
you'd auction stuff off on air?
We would, and we'd raise.
What happened to that? Because that's good money.
It is. We'd raise about $15,000 in one night. Yeah. A lot of the members just kind of aged out, and much like a lot of groups, they haven't seen a lot of the younger blood come in yet. But it would be nice if they did, because it was a blast. I mean, we would enjoy it. It would be a whole weekend's project. But we would have folks who would fly in from across the country that used to be involved here when they were kids, or they would just be here for that weekend. And it was a lot of fun. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, maybe get it going and have the younger kids involved.
Be nice. Yeah,
that would be.
Yeah.
So, what areas are you looking into for BTV to grow?
Well, I mean, we're really evolving, obviously, into the whole social media area. I mentioned Al a few minutes ago. So Al came on and right away attacked our YouTube channel and got it monetized and got a lot more credibility for it. I think we have well over 1,000, followers now on that.
Yeah, they can subscribe, right?
They can subscribe. Yep, and it is a nice option. It's free, obviously. So for folks who don't have cable, they can also follow there. The one caveat is that we don't get any funding for it, other than the paid, which is just cents on the dollar, but at least it's something. But there is some pending legislation at the state level that might help with that a little bit. I hope it does, because I think more access the better. So we're all about just improving, as much as we can, growing, evolving. We love to get new members. We have picked up some new volunteers this year.
Because they can come in and learn just how to film, right?
Exactly. They can do whatever they want. They can come in and learn how to edit. They can come in and learn how to write.
Wow.
Podcasts, anything they want. I always... somebody will say, hey, there's, my kid has a soccer match or something, or could it be recorded? And they don't realize they can actually do the recording. It's very easy to do. Any group, any organization that, and as a matter of fact, we'll be launching a new website in the coming weeks. And within there'll be opportunities for folks to sign up to volunteer or, post that they're looking for coverage or stuff like that. But I always tell people, BTV itself, it's the community station. It's not they. It's not an entity. It's not a private company. So, if somebody is looking to, and we had a great result from that last year. The BR hockey team was looking to get their games televised and getting more involvement. And some of the parents came by, and we gave them a crash course on how to use the equipment. And I think they recorded about 15, 17 games that they had regularly.
How cool is it to videotape your own kids'
Exactly
game?
It. Yeah. Or your friends. Yeah. They had other students who were interested in hockey, but weren't on the team. They got involved. I always tell the students that, I say I certainly don't mind recording these games, but I would think it'd be a much more of a thrill if it was
Can you imagine saying that you videotape that game?
I mean, if it's your class, and I would think that it's much more interesting.
I think so too. So your relationship with the town, it's pretty good. But how can we help? How can the town help you guys?
I think just more spreading the word that we're here and that the opportunities are here, and convincing because we have a lot of new residents who have moved in, but convincing them that there's no red tape. It's easy. You can just come down, pick up a camera, learn how to use it, go record it. Because that's what makes us viable in the end.
So if I requested to the town council for you to come and talk, do a presentation.
Sure.
Maybe that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to, even like I didn't know a lot until I started, and I'm thinking, wow, there's a lot on you.
Yeah.
And the opportunities for internships, or even like if I want to come down here and learn.
Yeah, and there's a lot that folks can learn. Even, I tell people editing, promotional material, that's involved in almost every job now, every field. So even if you're not working in broadcast, if you're working in real estate, if you're working with lawyers, if you're working even in the business setting, if you can bring those skills back to your job and tell your boss, hey, I can create that PowerPoint or I can create that training video.
That's true. I never thought about that.
That's extra money. These are skills that you can use almost anywhere. So we've had a really good, I mentioned earlier, Chief Del Monte. We had Paul Sullivan, who was a longtime administrator in town, was started on our board of directors as our clerk, and kind of picked up a lot of those skills. Herb Lemon started with BTV. There's many. Dennis Gallagher was a producer here for a long time, for many years.
Gallagher.
Exactly, yeah. So there's a lot of folks that didn't necessarily work in television, but they were still able to use some of these skills and give back their time, which is, you're always in trouble when you start naming because you're going to forget somebody. But
that happens.
Marilee Hunt had a long time show here with Carlton, and before she became town clerk. And it's not that BTV gave them those jobs, but it was just being able to learn some of those skills and connect with the community is always a good thing. So I mean, if folks are moving in town and they're looking to get more involved and connect with Bridgewater, and it's a good way to do it and meet folks and
it's just to keep
fun.
Informed of all the things that are going on.
Exactly.
It's hard to keep track.
Yeah.
But you guys have a lot.
Yeah. But even if somebody's attending a forum or an event and they think that might be something that might benefit some other folks seeing it, stopping by here, grabbing a camera and recording it is a good. I know that the library always looks for help for people to record some events over there. It can always be a good thing, even if they're just attending the event and they want to throw a camera on a tripod and just leave it as a wide shot while they're there. It's better than it gives a little exposure.
Especially like when they have the senior stuff and they have something at night and they don't want to go out.
Exactly.
So that's very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a relationship with the Town Landing here.
Yeah, that's been great. When Al came on board with us, he was involved with Fire for Effect Foundation and was mentioning that. And I saw that as a win-win immediately because, it just makes the neighborhood a better place to be. A lot of his group, a lot of the nonprofits in town share our visions anyway.
Yeah.
So we're all kind of on the same page on what we're trying to do. But it's been really nice. And in the next chapter, it looks like it's going to be getting the pavilion installed.
That's exciting.
Yeah, that's going to be huge. And that's a great partnership that Al put together with Bristol Plymouth and with the town of Bridgewater. And so the students are going to be involved in building a lot of that. But then once they get some of the structure done, BTV will roll in and some of our volunteers will add audio and video feeds down to the pavilion. So we'll be able to record and stream events right from there, which will be nice. So it's definitely a win-win. But his events bring a lot of folks down here, too, who don't necessarily know where BTV is or are familiar. And now they're walking through the building and now they see the opportunities that are here. So it also gets more recognition.
So they could call in and make an appointment to come down here and take.
Yeah,
I think that's.
We're here most days. They can just come down, honestly.
Yeah. So do you have a good relationship with BSU?
We've always had a really good relationship for a long time. And I graduated there. Obviously, a lot of our crew members have. But remember, BSU was always a teaching school originally.
Yeah.
And so
it was well known for that.
Yeah, and so I think they're kind of going back in that direction. They're doing a lot with cybersecurity. Broadcast, we'll see. There's been some differing opinions amongst the departments over there. So we just tell them we're here, when they're ready for us, we're available. But our biggest thing is whenever we do productions with schools, there has to be an academic component of some sort. And so that kind of fell out over there the last couple of years. So that's why we said, we'll just take a pause. We'll let them, I know that they're working amongst their departments and figuring out how they want to do that. And then if they get to that point, we're always here for them. But we have to justify what we're doing to make sure that we're providing a service for the town of Bridgewater because that's where we're located, and also there has to be some kind of education component to it. We got to be teaching. So, for example, when we do a lot of the NCAA events, we're bringing resident students with us on these crews. Some of them are from BR, it's before high school. And that's something that they're putting on their resume that is putting them way above their competition.
Can you imagine, getting to go to do that?
Yeah,
How fun is that?
and
Going on a
as
road trip for those?
oh yeah, and
You'd never be able to get tickets for that.
right, and then graduating as a senior and saying, "Hey, I've done 3 years of March Madness."
Yeah.
I mean, CBS is going to hire you instantly because they don't have to train you; they already know you've gone through the ropes. And
I mean, you're just doing it for the fun of it. That's got to be a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, us older guys, we're just doing it, but we're obviously teaching the students and we're helping them out.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've had folks who have been hired full time just based off of those tournaments, which is great for them,
Yeah.
and they've
it takes
moved
a lot
on.
to do those.
Yeah, they've moved on to ESPN. They moved on to some of the Boston. We had one gentleman who, when he was a volunteer here, really didn't like sports, really didn't have any interest in sports at all, started getting involved in these tournaments and ended up becoming the editor for the Sunday night sports show on Channel 7 in Boston,
Sports
ironically.
grow on you.
Yeah.
It's too exciting not to get involved.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So we've had a lot of good experiences there, and a lot of good experience with concerts and community events, a lot of the churches that host events, which is nice, and a lot of the schools. We've had parents follow TJ Squared. We had one year where parents signed out cameras and they went down to Atlanta and they covered them on the road. They went to the Georgia Dome. Yep. And they got footage of that, which was really cool.
Yeah, I saw you guys you videotaped that open mic.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So we try to do that as much as we can.
You get to see a lot.
Yeah.
You guys.
Yeah.
You must know a lot about the town.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you see everything.
That's what I always tell everybody. If you're ever interested, if you're trying to learn more about your community, get involved here because you'll learn.
Yeah, because you guys
quickly.
pop up everywhere.
Yeah.
You know the
which is
backdrops
nice.
of everything.
Yeah. It's fun.
I'm sure it is. You make it look fun.
Yeah.
You do.
You have to.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hours, and people have told us that. They've said we understand that you don't think it's work and you're just enjoying yourself, but when you're doing it 15 hours a day, your body knows it. So sometimes, after the 4th of July this year, we all kind of realized we got to slow down a little bit. We're not 30 years old anymore.
Yeah.
But
that's a long night, though. A lot of walking. Yeah. That's a long night.
Good event, though.
So I don't know if this is new. I saw Nick Silva.
Mm-hmm.
He did the BR Sports Report, which I liked because now they're telling us when the football games are.
Yeah. So Nick's been active here a long time. But he now has a full-time job with the school district as well, so he's not as available as he used to be, which is great for him because he's getting some great experience. But yeah, Nick's been great with us. We try to have a lot of students in, and we have had this year especially. Tim Koss is another one that comes to mind that is on my media club and has been very, very active and was running around the 4th of July.
What's your media club?
So that's at the high school, and so that
so you're part of that.
Mm-hmm, yep. Yeah. So that's been great. And we're going to build with that this year.
So are you in charge? You do some teaching there?
I do, yeah. Well, so I'm kind of the liaison, and then I help the teachers teach, basically.
Okay.
But the students are also involved a lot with us when we're doing the productions over the school. So it's kind of a hybrid.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've had a very strong relationship with the school district for a long time. I will say it's not you asked earlier, what can the town do for us? But you already do in a lot of senses. It's not common for access stations to have strong relationships with their host towns or their schools, and you wouldn't think that at all. It doesn't make sense. But we're one of few. Bridgewater has always had a very strong access corporation because of the support that it gets from the community and from the schools. I have a gentleman who texted me last week asking what I thought were very basic questions because his station they weren't allowed to have their volunteers come into the high school.
Really?
They weren't allowed to be open certain hours. It was very weird.
Yeah.
And I had questions from another friend from another town that was having the same issues. So it's kind of sad that that's how it is. But in Bridgewater, we've always had a very strong working relationship with, and we like to feed off of each other too.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what really helps. So,
well, it's great for the kids.
yeah, and then that's the point,
Yeah.
That's the whole idea.
You're passing on your knowledge to the next generation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's really the idea. And on the government side, the more we can do to work with our town so that our subscribers and our viewers are familiar with what's going on, that's really the whole point of why we're here. So it's been a blessing, though, that in Bridgewater that's never been an issue.
I'm glad to hear that because I think the kids should be involved in everything.
For sure.
So does Nick do all the different sports? Like, I try to keep online.
Yeah.
You get busy, but like the Little League, I had trouble finding what their next game was and stuff like that, or the girls' softball game that's, I think, still going on for the summer.
So youth sports are a little trickier once you get younger than the high school level, because you start to run into some require waivers to be on camera. So it gets a little trickier. We do try to follow them as much as we can.
But even putting the schedule up, like
exactly,
that whole schedule up, the home, it's away game, what time it starts. I like that. I thought there's my whole schedule for football.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and we're going to I'm going to see if he wants to do that for some of the other sports too. Nick's also a coach, so you're going to kind of pull him off the field.
What's he a coach for?
So he's coaching. I know he's coaching football. He has
Probably,
coached
that's
basketball.
Why he knew so much.
Yeah. But he has done some work with lacrosse too. And all the players know him when he gets there, and it's really cool.
I really like that.
Yeah,
I really did, because I'd like to go to a lot more, but it's just, if you're not a parent or know some parents, it's kind of difficult.
Yeah, we'll work on that more and get him.
He was great. That was great.
Yeah.
So you're partners with the New England Knockouts. That's the baseball.
So they were the Knockouts last season. They're back to the Rocks.
Okay.
And they've been the Rock. Traditionally they were the Rocks. They've had some changes in ownership.
Yeah.
But they're back to the Rocks now. The league that they're in made a little bit of a change this year. So they were running internships. They took a pause on it this year. We'll see if they come back to it next year. But yeah, that's been a great. We've been involved with the Rocks since their beginning. So
because they built that whole
Campanelli Stadium.
For them.
Matter of fact, we started doing programming with them before the stadium even existed. We were actually in the office of a bank in Northeastern.
Wow.
When they were talking about this happening, but we were there. I think we started 2001. Yeah, so 23 years or
so
25
who do they play
years.
against?
So right now they are in the Frontier League, which is it's considered an A level. So there's A, AA, AAA. So it's an A level league. It is in partnership with Major League Baseball. It's not directly affiliated, but the teams. There are 3 brackets of teams. So there are several teams in Canada, primarily the Montreal, Quebec area. There are also teams in the Mid-Atlantic. So New Jersey has a couple. Pennsylvania, kind of that area. I believe there's a team in Maine, several teams in New York State. And then that's that bracket. And then they also have their western side, which is primarily Indiana, Illinois, Missouri. So they will kind of...
So will they get called up like to the next level?
Sure. Yes, that's exactly
like what
it.
The Pawtucket.
Yeah. They would probably... Exactly. Yeah. So this is an A level. So... From here, a lot of these players would probably go to AA affiliated. So, it was the Lowell Spinners back in the day. Now it wouldn't be quite Worcester, but they have some affiliates down in the Carolinas and Portland, Maine, if the Sea Dogs are still
So you
going.
go down and record them?
We don't go there, but we have done work with the Rocks. Hopefully that'll get back again. Like I said, the league took a pause this year. So they didn't do humans this year. They had robotic cameras, but we'll see. We'll see if that grows again.
Is the turnout not as good as it was?
It's actually improved this year because the going back to the Rocks, they had a new ownership group. Jim Rice was part of that ownership group, so I think that got a little bit of a bump in the numbers. They've also gotten back to doing more school day games, more summer camp games, which has been nice. So they're averaging just right around 1,500 fans a game, which is an improvement. They were averaging about 750 last year. But in their glory days, they were averaging 3,500, 4,000.
Yeah, when they first started open. But they would have like Kids Day and stuff
they
like
would.
that. It was exciting.
I was actually over there Friday night. It felt too much like a baseball game to me, if that makes sense. I think they need to kind of get back to more of their kid zones and more of their... Obviously, you're there to watch baseball, but baseball's a tough sport to draw.
Yeah.
And there are enough baseball teams around here. People go to Worcester, they'll go to Fenway. The Rocks need to be a bit more of a niche there. But they do have, they're hosting the Cape Verdean Festival this weekend. They had a very successful Brazilian rodeo. So they have done some other
Rodeos
events.
are fun.
Yeah, and they at one time, there was actually just a website that came out recently documenting all the concerts that they've had there. One of Jason Aldean's first concerts ever was at Campanelli Stadium.
Wow.
I mean, they've hosted the B-52s, they've hosted Salt and Pepper, they've hosted tons of performances over the years. So if they can get back to doing that, that would.
So the concerts we have is at Black Hat. You
Yeah,
guys go down
yeah,
there sometimes?
yeah, we do. So that's now an extension of Music Alley. So Music Alley, as you know, originally started in the center. They've moved over there. Paul also has a great new tap room and inside facility that he has concerts as well.
Very smart move.
Yeah.
Well decorated. You can tell it's well thought out to fit in.
Yeah. So, we've talked about, pre-wiring down there a little bit, getting some cameras and some audio in there so we can just kind of go in and
because now we can have indoors, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's a little tighter space for the cameras physically.
Yeah.
But if we can get them mounted onto the walls, that'll be something.
Exciting.
So we enjoy doing Music Alley too.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, that'd be fun. Unless, of course, they can't sing well. Then
well, that's
struggle.
Exactly.
But otherwise, I think what you can't tell by you guys whether if you didn't like something because you always present it well. You talked about it well, which is very good of you.
Yeah. It's we just try to give everybody the best possible foot forward.
You do a well job that way.
Thank you.
Yeah, because you try hard, but sometimes you can tell them but you can't tell with you guys at all. You're doing really good. Yeah. So I'd be sitting there going, oh, it's a good thing they can do that.
Right.
Yeah, I have to be careful, like at the council, because sometimes I'll do facial stuff.
Yeah.
So that's one of the
cameras are always around.
That's what my kids said. Ma, sometimes when we're talking to you, you make that look. I'm like, okay, I'll be well aware. Because if you're not used to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on the spot.
Well, we've had folks ask us over the years, sometimes when we were at town meetings, they would ask us, is the mic on? And I would always say, assume the mic is always on. Yeah. Assume the camera is always on. Yeah. And really just treat the camera like it's somebody else sitting in the seats. Yeah. And if they can't hear you sitting in their seats, they're probably not going to hear you watching at home. If they can't see you sitting in their seats, they're not going to see you watching at home. So I always tell folks, be cognizant, make sure you have good posture, make sure you project in the room.
Yeah, I got to speak up a little bit more.
It's hard because a lot of folks, if they're in an elected position, for example, they're focused on the topic and what they're trying to do. They didn't sign up to be TV reporters, but speaking to the public is kind of an important
That's
part
what they
of it.
tell me. Speak up, Mary. Speak up. So that I know that. But sometimes you're in there, you forget even the audiences and the camera.
Sure.
I really do.
The tough thing with meetings, too, is I always notice is the timing. They start in the evening. Yeah. You've all worked all day, and now you're coming here, and they're going sometimes late into the night. It's hard to keep the energy up, and you're starting to drift a little bit, and somebody's got a 25-page presentation on a podium, and you're like, okay, yeah, I want to go to sleep now.
It is tough
challenging.
After a long day.
It's not easy.
But it's fun, and I get to learn a lot.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot, more than I've known.
Yeah, and that's another great way, just getting, sometimes people see that somebody will tell them on Facebook, well, get involved, and they'll take that as an insult or a negative statement, and it's really not. It's if you want to, learn about your community and learn why your tax dollars are being spent certain ways and understanding the structures, getting involved in your community is a great way to do it. It's a great way to have control too, have more control about what's going on. And
I'll tell you, my kids, they've learned more than they've ever known. Yeah. Even my grandkids will ask me questions now because I'll be talking to my daughter and they'll hear it and they're like, what? And that. Yeah. So now it's like not just stop with me. Now it's my kids and now their kids. Yeah. Are actually going, the town does what? Right. Why did they do that?
Right.
Yeah. So I found that really interesting because I figured they wouldn't, just if they heard me and their mother talking, but no.
Yeah, and understanding, laws and understanding who's actually responsible and what their roles are, that's all important too. Because sometimes people will call the wrong person, looking for a solution and realizing that person can't really help them. They can say all the right things and smile, but they can't really do anything about it. And so understanding the roles of government and civic knowledge, I think, is huge. I think
that we need to do a podcast on the town because people think that they're like, well, you're the boss of the town manager. And I'm like,
not exactly.
Yeah, not exactly.
Yeah, right.
The town manager has to go and fulfill the goals that we get.
Right.
But, I just can't say, well,
right.
she's not, that
Right.
person's not, well, I say
Right.
she, but it's Justin now,
Sure.
my employee.
Yeah.
And I can't tell what employee to do. So there is levels that I think people don't understand. And I think, maybe having Johnny come on with me, or even the town managers come on, but maybe we could talk about that a little bit, because they think that, and it's no.
And also understanding the roles of subcommittees, because people may want to help out, but they might not know where they would be best suited. So actually knowing, well, this is what a planning board does, this is what an appeals board does, this is what a finance committee does, understanding and then seeing where they could, help out the most.
Yeah, Johnny and I talked about bringing the committees more forward to have them do a presentation to know. I think that's important.
The nice thing I thought the last couple of years is seeing elections that were actually contested.
Yeah.
I think that's huge. I
That
think we went through several years where, we would joke when we were doing the graphics that we were just doing football scores. 7 people voted for this one, 3 people voted for this one. It was kind of sad. It was depressing, and you want an active community.
Yeah.
You want a lot of turnover. You want a lot of opinions, a lot of ideas, and same thing here in BTV. You don't want to necessarily see the same 3 or 4 faces every time. You want new opinions, new ideas, new suggestions, and nothing makes us happier than seeing this building full of different programs and different groups in here. And we have our, even if you're not into technical, we have our conference room that many organizations will use, and it's a great Zoom enhanced conference room. It's a Zoom room. People can go in there. They can have their members come in remotely too. They can use the control room, the conference room rather. We have the break room, kitchen, all that. So there are a lot of opportunities here. We kind of look at this more as a community center, and that's kind of where we see the vision long-term.
I don't think people realize that, and I didn't until I got involved, and then other people who watch my podcast go, well, maybe I could have a show.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a podcast, but then they'll look a little and go, because you can sit down together and you can discuss stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Because you used to have quite a few of those.
Oh, yeah, for a long time.
Yeah.
We had some that would actually kind of counter each other, which it was great for us. I mean, the ratings, our Sunday mornings were very, very popular at one time. But no, you do. You need more discussion. And what they would find is that a lot of these shows would come to certain areas where they'd find their common ground, and they would go to, but people would watch these programs and they would show up at meetings and they'd be far more prepared, and they would know what they want to vote on, and they, rather than just going in blind.
Well, having Johnny and Paul, I mean, we disagree on different things.
Sure.
But we sit here, we can talk about it and know what different residents want, and try to come to a point and see each other's opinion. So I think the council is pretty good that way. I've had good relationships.
Yeah, I agree.
And it has to be. I mean, someone should say no, and others, yes.
Well, and you mentioned earlier that, we can kind of always put on a professional face no matter what. But I know, as you just mentioned, I know some of counselors who definitely on some recent items were on opposite ends, but you didn't see that at the meeting.
Yeah.
You saw they might vote whatever, but they weren't, casting dispersions on each other, or they weren't, speaking out of turn. They were still as a cohesive unit.
Yeah.
And I think that's important,
That's why lots of times I think we'll say our residents said this.
Right.
Because, a lot of them will come to me about a certain thing. They may not go to like Johnny or Paul, but they'll come to me.
Yeah.
Because, I'm a town council at large, so that way we have, we're representing different people with different views.
Right, and if thousands of people all have the same opinion, there's probably something wrong.
Yeah, it could be pretty boring, too.
Exactly. So there's nothing wrong with having
I wouldn't want my town all pink, what I mean? Like
Exactly.
decorations, we need some other, everyone has different,
they
like different color decorations.
Right.
So,
what makes us who we are.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's, I don't know, I enjoy it. Sometimes it can be frustrating, but,
Right, and that's
so
what
can family members.
and that's what we try to do, is we try to make the avenues available, and to make those opportunities available for people to get their opinions out and, get more information out there, which is huge. And I'll always say that if somebody's on Facebook and say, oh, I really didn't know about this, and geez, the town needs to do a better job doing blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, the opportunity's here. You can get involved if you want.
Yeah.
You don't have to, but...
Well, we'll get you on the presentation on the council, so try to get it out as much, because this is such an opportunity here.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And Bridgewater is very fortunate as well. We're all very fortunate at our board of directors. They're very smart with the financing. So, if we all hear about the cord cutters and all that, if the Comcast funds really drop down, you're going to see some communities that are going to be gone overnight. They'll be gone. But I don't think Bridgewater is going to be in that.
It's just like we saw when COVID was over.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
When it started,
Yeah.
they didn't.
Yeah, and we played huge roles when COVID first started. If you remember, that was right in the beginning of Lent.
Yeah.
And so we immediately worked with all the churches in town, made sure they had the ability to communicate remotely,
that's good.
get all their services on TV. So we were able to do that. It was also towards the end of the senior year for a lot of the students, so we were able to do the award nights and graduation and all that remotely. And it actually, I had a lot of fun doing the virtual graduation. That was kind of cool.
I'll have to check that out. I wasn't living here.
It was a lot of fun. And we actually, the next year when we went back to normal, the class asked the school if they could have the virtual one.
Really?
Yeah, because it was kind of
that
neat. But yeah, no, I mean, that was a lot of fun doing that. And that's the fun. Obviously, you never want to see a COVID event happen again. But there were a lot of interesting things that came out of that. The one benefit to us is that we were so busy. I think I may have taken 5 days off in 2020.
Wow.
But the flip side of it was we really didn't have time to worry about all the craziness of the world. We didn't have any negative psychological effects or anything, because to us, it was business as usual.
I was working in healthcare. There was a lot of that.
Sure, yeah. We were very fortunate that in our world, nothing really changed. I mean, we edited a lot more remotely and we had home offices, but editing's editing. You're on a computer. It doesn't really matter what room you're in.
I think a lot of people learned a lot of things that needs to be changed or enhanced.
Well, we were fortunate as well, because we had our Zoom room was already established probably 3 or 4 years prior to COVID. So we had all that technology already, so we were able to just keep going
I've watched a lot of the different meetings in the town council meetings on Zoom during that time, just to start learning about them when I moved here.
Yeah, it was different, but
everyone adjusted.
It did, yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
And I'm definitely going to send out that invitation.
Thank you.
So I think it's important. I think you guys do a lot.
Thank you.
And a lot of information.
Yeah, and we we credit it to all the volunteers, all the residents in town. It's I said, the more the merrier. We'd love to have them if they're available. 1 hour, 10 hours, doesn't really matter. If they're kids playing in a game and they want to grab a camera, that's cool.
I think we have to get that out, because I think a lot of people. I mean, like, I'm new. I moved in like 2015, but then I stayed for a couple of years, and then I got a job in Foxborough, so I moved there, and then I eventually came back. So I never really knew of all the stuff that you guys did. And it's amazing how you can really get involved.
There's no cost, there's no liability, there's no, some communities charge membership fees. We don't do that.
Because I kind of thought you were just like a company, never knowing that
I think part of it is the product that we put out there. It looks very professional. It looks like there are pros being paid a lot of money to do this, and that's because we invest all the money in the equipment. So if we have somebody who wants to learn, we can work with that very easily. We can make it very user-friendly. We can gradually bring them up the ladder as they learn more. But the importance is investing in the equipment. That's the most important thing, and that's something that we've believed in for over 30 years.
Yeah, and you guys do incredible. I think you'll get more people volunteer, especially, I can't imagine high school kids. Man, I would do this in a heartbeat.
Me
and
too.
get credit for it.
Yes.
And they should do that.
Yep.
So, well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
And I guess I'll see you later.
All right. Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, Jeff.